Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our March monthly chapter dinner. We started the year last month with 40 people. We have 60 today. So if we keep up this rate, we should be back in the main room by summer. So for those who this is your first time, welcome. We hope to see you again. For our chapter members who have supported the chapter through the pandemic, we appreciate everything you've done to keep us going. Chapter scholarship season is upon us. So as in past years, we offer one open scholarship to all Montgomery County high schools. There's a project management type quiz that prospective nominees have to take. And then we also have a member scholarship for family members of graduating seniors for our chapter. So there's a few people in the room and on the Zoom call who have had family members win a scholarship in the past. $1,000 doesn't do much for higher education these days, but it's better than nothing. So it can at least support some books. So deadline date is Thursday, March 31st. We may offer an extension from that of a week or two, but if you're interested or you know of any graduating seniors in the area, coworker, put in the scholarship. It's an open book quiz, so. Okay, yesterday started our 2022 board season. So a few old faces and new places. Mr. Edry and Mr. Geis swapped president for VP of Finance. So we'll have opening remarks from Gene in the second day of his presidency.
Hopefully I'm not going to blow you out of the room because my voice is kind of boisterous. This feels kind of weird, I got to tell you. 18 years I've been with this chapter. 18 years. And yeah. When I moved to Maryland for a job from Pennsylvania, the first call, I was reminiscing with Charlie, the first call I made was to Charlie Geis because I didn't know anybody down here. I didn't have any contacts and I couldn't be happier. He made me feel welcome. And 18 years later, here I am. All right. So I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you for being members of our chapter. Our mantra still stands. It's all about the members. Already talked about the scholarships. If I can get to the next page here. All right. It's terrible. I want to say that I very, very much am humbled to be the president. It is a bit nervous being up here because I've been with the chapter 18 years. This is the first time I've ever had to come up here. So kind of cool, huh? As all of you know, Charlie is not a past president. He's an institution when it comes to this chapter. And I have some very large shoes to fill. That being said, we have an absolutely outstanding board that's going to make my job a lot easier. Matt already said it. He gave away the little buzzkill there, which is Charlie and I swapped. So when I was elected president, I had the vacancy of vice president of Treasury and Finance. And one of my first jobs is to appoint my successor. So I appointed Charlie. He said yes. He didn't get away quick enough. One big thing is I want to tell you all that I am not planning to change anything, especially our chapter's mantra. We will continue to focus on all of you, the members. And the board, Matt, I think Dr. Chen is on the call. Mr. Steckel, I talked to him last week. He's getting the scholarship stuff ready. They will continue to serve at the highest level of service for all of you. So enjoy tonight's presentation. You are in for a treat. Really excited. I'll let Matt do the introductions, but thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, PMI Global started the year off with some fun things. Their virtual experience series, their PM Expo is Thursday, March 24th. That's free to all members. opportunity to earn between 10 and 15 PDUs. You'll have on-demand access to all the presentations, and that's the lead into the virtual experience series. It's monthly at a low charge, but if your company has the training and education allowance, it's a good way to utilize that and not waste those funds. Citizen development's a big buzzword right now with modernized platforms like Salesforce, ServiceNow, Oracle's offerings. More and more organizations want the business process owners and the experts to be the developers. So PMI's latched onto this, and they're offering a micro credential. If you wanted to be the architect of your own software solution to help your own job. So, and in talking to prospective employers who are going to work with our chapter on job placement for our members, this is something that's very attractive to them. February 2022 was a good month for our chapter members in terms of earning certifications. We had about 10 new PMPs. The PMP test is continually changing. We're still waiting on feedback to when the test changes to version 7 of the PMBOK that you saw last year. And there's also a agile hybrid project micro-credential. Micro-credentials are a new way of PMI giving certifications out. So we congratulate those members and keep up the good work. Education partners with the chapter are continuing to do great things as the world comes back to an unmasked normal. So will their in-person offerings from their standard virtual now. So stay tuned in our newsletters for those updates. And we're very pleased to introduce and welcome the team from Talent and Technical Solutions Group, Ms. Adrienne Somerville and Mr. Michael Taylor. You'll see over on the other side of the room, there will be a book signing after the event with Ms. Somerville signing her bestseller. And there'll also be a raffle at the end of the night. So 1, try to stay till the end of the meeting for the raffle. 2, if you do have to leave, give your raffle ticket to your neighbor and maybe they'll win a prize. So we'll have books from 3 best authors raffled off. Mr. Taylor has over 20 years of servant leadership experience, and we're looking forward to how they work with the team. They developed this great partnership they have from their work together in support of the U.S. Navy. So tomorrow, when you look at your coworkers to your left and your right, maybe those will be your future business partners if you branch off as entrepreneurs. So we welcome our speakers, and over to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I am so excited to be here. You look amazing. Amazing being out. Thank you. Doesn't it feel good to be out? And socializing like normal people. No more new normal. We like the old normal. We're a little more seasoned. So thank you for coming out tonight. I'll tell you a little bit, and thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you for having us. Thank you, Dr. Scott. I'll tell you a little bit about me, and I'm big on storytelling, and then I'll tell you a little bit about why it's never, ever, ever in a time in history. Talent management was a discussion. This is the defining moment. So I started my career, anybody ever wonder how the government gets half of its stuff, right? People buy contracting like people, so the government buys that stuff. I thought I was moving to DC to be the PhD attorney at Howard University, but then decided to get into acquisition. And I bought many helicopters and platforms for the Navy, decided I would reinvent myself in a leadership program, and fell in love with talent management. Because across the Navy and many of our organizations, we can't let them speak, right? Can anyone relate to that? We spend a lot of money on training. Can anybody relate to that? And then everybody's wondering now, is the training helping like production or profits or performance? And then we're not seeing the correlation there. And then we're running around, but people are leaving, and we're like, wait, don't go, because you're the only nanotechnology guy I have in my engineering cohort. So how do I keep you? Retention is a big issue. the IT world blows up and you can't find the right talent. And then people inside of the organization or the company, just they aren't feeling connected, right, to the supplies or the services or the goods that they deliver. And then leadership kind of like undercover boss. They think they solved all the problems, but they can't make the numbers and the investment and the math work. So Michael and I had an opportunity. It started off as a nice little white paper project. So can you give us some ideas, do some environmental scanning? It was like 5 months, and then it became like 9 years. We like helped solve everything. Build a mobile app, work with Google. We were like exploding. Asked to speak and teach this all over the world, from Italy to Japan. I was telling you all about my trip to Japan. And so it's really important that we understand talent management across, regardless of what you do in a nonprofit organization or in a government agency. We all have talent. Like nothing moves without people. And for years, I've watched leaders count lots of facts and figures, massive, really pretty spreadsheets and PowerPoint documents. But then at the end, we still have faces and feelings, and we really don't understand the portfolio of talent resident within our organization. So we started, you tell me if I'm standing in the back. We can be quick. So we quickly understood that talent was the driver of everything. And so we did it at the Navy level. We were asked to go across the Navy, DoD level. And then Mike and I, we realized something like this is the secret sauce, the people stuff that people are forgetting. They're looking at all kinds of reports and lots of numbers and profit margins and a lot of detailed data, but no one's really looking at the holistic aspect of human capital management and talent. Now, so when someone leaves, what do? We hire someone else, right? Do we really know if we need to hire someone else? We hired him because Maria left. I got it back from Maria. Well, I don't even know really what Maria did, right? I mean, she was here. She came in every day. And wait a minute, and she did it for about 20 years. I don't even know if we do that anymore. And if you look at what Maria did versus what it said she was supposed to be doing, probably not the same. But on the other side of town, Maria does something vastly different that's not even germane to what we do. And we didn't even know that was something that she offered. So talent management, when you hear DOL and others advertise, this is the great resignation. We know, unfortunately, a number of companies are not going to be able to open. We know a number of companies have lost a lot of talent. We know there's a lot of talent still resident within our community. And so how do we capitalize that? How do we help companies do that? And you all, many of you are probably leaders and hiring managers and are very influential in your organization. So hopefully today you take away some helpful hints, not only for if you are a department head or leader in your organization, but something you could even whisper in the ear of one of your managers or other leaders. We were able to then kind of separate Michael and our other business partner, Blair. I'll talk a little bit about him as well. But we ultimately came back together and formed a company called Talent and Technical Solutions. And I'll talk a little bit about that. But I heard the people today, right? We're going to take care of the people with our organization. When you think of talent management, think of transforming the performance by ensuring that there's passion and drive, ensuring that everyone lives in his or her story. And great companies actually have figured this out. So it's not as lofty as it sounds. But our goal has always been to transform organizations one person at a time. So that's me. You all have met me by now, right? We bonded, we talked quite a bit. But this was just one of the drivers. Michael actually always said we should have our own company. And we were just running around thinking, oh, we're going to touch every organization throughout the world, continents, right? And then we were, working our government jobs. This is not going to work. So we decided, really it is about touching the lives of individuals and how broad we can go with it from a corporate perspective, because there are many small companies, merging companies, they don't have the resources to establish their talent management structures and construct at the early onset of their business. So who are we? This is our awesome leadership team. I feel so humble every day to work with these guys. Blair does a lot of IT solution. Definitely one of those coders, programmers, cyber awareness, IT experts in the field. So let's talk about what is talent management. Does anyone know? Now that I've unveiled it, you know, you all know. So talent management is really nothing more than looking at the technical competence of individuals. And I'll talk in detail about it in relationships to the products that you deliver. So I use Maria, and I'm going to stick with that example throughout. So I got to bond with her there. So when you think of your organization, you all deliver products and services. You deliver something. You have some sort of end item, and there are intermediate steps that you must master in order to deliver that. So if I do an engineering investigation, there are things that I have to do to move my document forward, right? So there's some steps. So it's all about what is your company asking you to deliver? What is the bona fide need? What is the requirement? And getting a great deal of clarity on that is extremely important. There are so many organizations where I walk in and you ask, so, well, what do you do, Matt? Well, I work for Jane, and Jane's my boss. Talk about what you do, because they don't fully understand their requirements, right? They don't fully understand what they are supposed to be delivering and how it ties into the demands of the company or the demands of the organization. So you hear all of these great presentations about people first, right? Strategy. You go in this long hallway and you ask the average person, they don't even really feel connected to a lot of what these big banners, a lot of what's disseminated. So think of, what do I do? What's my organizational requirement? Like, what is the market sector? What do we deliver? And that straight line of clarity to that, the processes that it takes me to deliver day in, day out to deliver that. And what skills should I have? There are lots of skills that we have, and there are lots of skills that we should have, right? And if you ask the average person, they wouldn't say they're full up round and an expert suite in every aspect of their job, nor necessarily should they be. But when you take training, how many people work for the government agency? Have you ever gone into a training class and you ask someone, why are you here? And they go, because I need my points. I need continuous learning points. Well, this is earned value management. I don't do earned value management. I'm here for my points. I need to get a class, any class, right? And get my points. And then you wonder why it's not changing the trajectory of your career, or why is it not moving you forward, and why didn't your performance just wow leadership, right? When you return to the office, because the training wasn't targeted to your skills gap. Have anyone ever did a skills assessment? Right? Not as many people, right? Where you looked at, this is my work, these are my work products, this is what I should know, this is what I know, and then your training class came about, right? That training was targeted. It was, yes, the average company spends hundreds of thousands of dollars on training and not necessarily sending you to where your gap was, right? So then when you look at talent management, it does just that. It identifies the requirements with the highest degree of clarity. It speaks to what your products and services are, what your process and tools should be to enable your success, but it highlights the gap. Now, in many organizations, what happens when there's a gap? No one wants to talk about, I don't really know that. That's not really where I am on my career trajectory. A gap is the best thing for anyone to own, because it's the only way we can close it, right? So then we get into reporting. There's a lot of data and analytics that go behind talent management that should drive the decision of whether or not I backfill Maria, whether or not I need to backfill Maria. Oh, wait a minute. The company has a new surge requirement. Listen to the news today, right? We need 3 people to work on one thing in support of an issue or a matter that's ongoing. I don't even know who the 3 people should be without the analytics, the talent management model. And I'll talk a little bit about some ways we get there. Collaborating is key, because what talent management does is it saves us money. It saves money on hiring. It saves money on those earned value management classes that we take that we don't need. That's cost avoidance, cost savings. It boosts morale. It links learning to your day-to-day performance and delivery. So it aligns all of those competencies, and I'll dive deeper into this as we go forward. But it is about ownership and accountability.
There are a lot of organizations that are trying to rebound. They don't really want to lay anyone off. So how are they strategic in understanding the financial investments they're making today that will better yet serve them tomorrow and going forward? And it's about optimizing capability. The difference, a lot of people would say, well, HR is talent management, and it's not. Talent management drives the decisions that HR representatives make, right? They don't usually, they hire whoever we say hire, right? And it's like, I'm gonna put in my little requirement action. I need you to hire someone that does logistics. Well, I don't know if I need someone that does logistics. So these are the challenges, and these may resonate with you, and I'll give you time to read those. When we surveyed a number of companies as a data point, they honestly said these are the things that they struggle with. The average company. So this is government. This is, civilian agencies, military agencies. This is also private companies. Oh, you all can't see. Oh, well, let me indulge you. Okay. Thank you for being honest. So how well, when we categorize some of the challenges, because we're big researchers and analysts type people and data science. So we did this environmental scan, and it took about 9 months, but we went through and we interviewed everyone from Walt Disney to Bell Helicopter, right? A plethora of companies, nonprofit organizations as well. And some of the categories came out such as this. When it related to talent management, what they were facing. So some of the challenges are in the area of how I manage my business. Is your organization 100% aligned for growth, success, and resiliency? Many of the leaders said, well, I don't really know. I'm hoping that's what we're doing. What percentage of employees can define what success means in the organization? We did town hall groups, we did scans, we did surveys. You'd be surprised. And many of the leaders were surprised. Well, everybody knows what we do here. How many people on any given day are really there? And when I say there, we mean fully engaged in what they're doing. They're contributing, they're optimally performing. We're over the give me 110%. That's one of those things we don't want to hear anymore, right? But I'm engaged while I'm here. Where are my most trained and proficient employees? So think about this environment, right? We've been a little bit with the teleworking kind of out, right? We haven't seen as many leaders. When the wave of leaders leave, one of the USAA company members said, I'm trying to figure out who's going to be the next wave of leaders. We haven't seen people in a couple of years. But why is it we don't know where the next wave of leadership is in our organization? Trained proficiencies. How are the employees assessed? Even a 360-degree presentation is feedback, right? We love feedback, good, bad, and the ugly. The other thing is what skills shift will create gaps in the future supply. So we're moving in conversations with General Motors, we're moving to the electric car. What is the skill set of an electric engineer, a battery engineer, a whole different type of engineer? And where are we recruiting? What school are we aligning to prime the pump of succession planning to fill that gap in that motor world? What is the right size of the organization? And more importantly, what should it be? And do you understand the demand signal for talent with your training departments and division leads? So most often, I love the organizations that say, we offer the same training we always offer. Now, we don't always get every class filled, so we have to cancel some. But we offer the training that we offered. And I said, well, at what point do you say, who needs that training? Because it gets canceled all the time. And then the one lady says, yeah, unfortunately, that's when the instructor's on their way. So now we've wasted money and we don't have enough people to run a class, but we run that class all the time. So these are some of the things some of the leaders were saying when it came to managing their business. And we did this across all levels of leadership. And I say leader, I don't care if you started last week, you're still a leader, you lead from where you are. So how well am I managing my talent, right? So can employees relate their daily work to organization mission and success? That's that high degree of connectivity. Do you really feel, like if I don't show up for work, I know it's not going to get done. I can quantify the impact. Do every employee feel they fully understand me not showing up means X? Because that's what I contribute to, the success of the organization. And our workforce members equipped with the right level of mastery. Everyone doesn't need to be a master at everything, but they do know what they need to master. And then do we provide them feedback on that? How many employees feel overworked, disengaged, and or underutilized? Right? People are like, I can relate to that. And can I afford to replace the generation that's leaving? There's some people that did some numbers and they just had an epiphany in this environment. And they said, I think I just want to go off. I've always liked wood shop. So that's what I'm going to do with my life now. I've paid my dues. What are we going to do? Where does that knowledge transfer happen? And can we afford to replace them? And how many are we planning to train to advance in your careers? And you'll see how talent management enables you to manage your career. It's very empowering as an employee. And then our people map to the products we talked about and performing succession planning. I get calls all the time like, who do you think the next person should be to take that job? Now, what talent management does, and you'll hear this a lot, is it promotes transparency and trust. Because I'm going to say, well, I know Maria because our kids were on like the same soccer team. I mean, she's technically qualified too, but I know her personally. But there could be other qualified people that I've just not been exposed to. So in the spirit of transparency and trust, talent management enables that. And then how do you measure the success and ensure you have the right people at the right time in the right positions with the right skill set?
What techniques have you found successful to coach leaders are that friendly with feedback?
One of the things we did with talent management, honestly, it strengthened the partnership of the supervisor and the employee because it gave a codified framework from which we could form our discussion. It's one thing for a supervisor to kind of come in, and we built our tool to enable you to get that feedback, not only from your supervisor, and I'll talk a little bit about how a supervisor will do an assessment on my skills, and then I'll do an assessment on my skills, and then we'll have a conversation. But I could also invite my mentor. I can invite my colleague to give me feedback on my skills. And when I say skills, think technical and interpersonal, right? Think both skills, because it is about being a holistic leader. So we developed a talent management tool that allowed continuous feedback. Now I'll give you my experience. So when I had a 360, I was well senior in my organization. So now what got me here certainly is going to get me there. It's those people that have the shock effect when they get that feedback and wonder, who said I wasn't great? That's how I arrived to where I am. That 360 feedback in our talent management model, it happens from day one. You're constantly engaging with your supervisor, or I'm just going to reach out to Matt. He's my colleague. We've worked several projects. I just would like to know how I am as a peer. Right? I'd like to talk to some of my more junior personnel and give them because when you talk to your junior personnel, they'll tell you you're great because they don't know where this is going to go. So they're a little bit like, I don't want to say anything. You still do my performance. But the idea that I could solicit in the form of a talent management assessment tool, feedback from all employees keeps 360 to not being this big thing only for leaders and really high-end programs, but it's for everybody to grow holistically. And I'll show you a little bit more about that. You're welcome. Oops. So this is some other aspect of the data. So when we ask people, because now we've gotten all this data, right, from all these company leaders, one of the things was, well, what is the problem, right? What do you all think? We wanted them to tell us what they think the problems are. And they said, well, if I could make a budget decision, I would better be able to understand the effects of my workforce. So you had some leaders thinking it's just all about money, right? If I could control some of my destiny from a budget perspective, when it's actually the opposite, right? Some of this drives some of those budget needs. Not knowing how many people are required to run programs. How many times have you seen people throw more people on a program and think it's going to get better? And it's like, oh my God, I got to slow down what I was doing to help, train Jane. And 5 more people, oh, I don't want any more interns, I can't, right? Because I have so many people. So throwing more people on the program, but not the right people with the right skill set isn't going to make it whole. Also, what's the state of our infrastructure? What changes do we need? All of this links to talent management. The workload risk, are we assessing risk properly? And is it balanced in our organization? What does the future workload look like? This is very real when you think of all that we've been through over the past couple of years. I don't know what the workforce is going to look like across every market sector, but there are a lot of market leaders trying to figure out what that mixture should be in relationship to products and services and technology, right? Where we have some trade-off there. So the training costs the organization to meet that workforce yearly needs. Do you have a human capital, HR management, recruiting tool, and does it integrate to the IT business success? And we offer, that's something we offer and we promote, leveraging IT data to make some of those decisions across the enterprise. Then clearly defined positions, some sort of analytic, data lake, warehouse, and then having managers be able to talk business transformation and then be ready to run numbers as it relates to people, but more importantly, understand the portfolio of talent as it relates to people. So this is how we approach our organizational framework. It starts with the workload in your organization. So when you go in and you're trying to figure out, what are my organizational needs? What is the demand? What are we delivering? What are those products and services? What's our strategies? Because you'll hear all kinds of business strategies. What does that look like from a workforce? What are those skills? What are those staffing decisions that we need to make? Then when you think of recruiting, that merely is identifying what the position needs, right? What are some of the position requirements? What should it do? What do I need to hire someone to do if I'm going to deliver X in that workload planning? This is the talent management piece that drives some of that as well. When I recruit someone to fill that gap, then what do? We have to develop them, right? We have to retain them. We have to offer something called career maps. How many people have wondered, what's next for me, right? I hadn't really seen it, kind of don't know. I know the organization talked about some things at that last big meeting, but what really is next for me? Having that talent management gives you a clear roadmap, and I'll show you an example of that, of so many ways you can go and move about in your career. Good, bad, or indifferent, right? You can choose what trajectory that's most important to you. And I would offer and submit to you, it's not necessarily a ladder, but it could even be a lattice. I could move this way, or I can learn more about, that's the transparency. And we'll talk about that. But it is about closing your knowledge gap and mastering your skill set. When an organization has talent management, they don't really have to worry about concerns of people feeling isolated, right? Feeling not connected, feeling like only a handful of people seem to do everything. Only the same people go to the same classes. Only the same people get the plum projects. Wow, I didn't even know that job was coming out. I mean, it's that kind of information that doesn't get vastly disseminated, and talent management advertises that. It lends itself to ultimately developing each and every person wherever they are in an organization. And I'll talk to you about how we introduce gamification to do that as well. And performance management is less of an issue when I've developed myself all year long, right? I've talked to my supervisor, I've gotten feedback, I've taken classes, and then ultimately retention. So I'll tell you a little bit about a tool we introduced, and it's called TAD. So TAD basically does this. It links the people to the product. It links the skills needed to the products. It then says, Michael has said skills. It identifies the gap and it triggers training, right? It triggers the training demand. So that means I can holistically, as a leader, see where I have systemic themes. And those are the classes that I'm going to offer this year. Or better yet, because money is so tight, instead of sending 5 people to Utah, I'm actually going to have one person come here because I have about 10 people that could use it, and I only can afford one person. Those are the things when you think of what we did, and I'll show you. It's about career management. It's about gap identification. It's about discussing guides about growth and success in an organization. And I was one of those individuals I mentioned earlier. I was an acquisition contracts person, but I will tell you, I wanted to do something different. Like I just said, I wanted to just use my brain differently. I really wasn't really sure what it was going to be. So you get in a leadership program. Why? Because you get to rotate, right? You get to do some kind of shadow assignment. find a mentor where someone could pour something and said, hey, did you know this was an opportunity or this? With talent management, I should have been able to see that in a system, right? Everybody gets to see it. It's fair play. Everybody gets to see it. And you can figure out based on where you are, what you want to do, and what your goals are, where you should focus your development leads. And then the cool thing is that I take that to my supervisor. And many of our work environments today, unfortunately, we have to be reactive, right? We have to go with, well, I'll wait and meet with my supervisor. I'll hear what he or she thinks I should be doing. But with talent management, it's a little different because I can then be proactive in saying, I saw all of this was available. This is where I see my knowledge and skills and gaps are. This is really kind of where I think the organization is going. What are your thoughts about me and moving into some of these areas? Let's talk about my skills. I'll be honest with you, it's uncomfortable without a talent management model for a supervisor. Because I'm just gonna, I'm kind of trying to remember what I want to tell you, right? I've jotted some things down. The paper may not necessarily speak to the skills that are of interest to you. Your passion may not be captured there. They're just looking at, you come in every day, you do a good job, you deliver something, but it's like there's another layer to you that gets unveiled when you do talent management, because we were able to capture people, not only the products that they delivered, but all the other skills that they did in the community, the retired nuclear guy that did that, the person that consults on the weekend. I'll give you a fun fact. So this was with the Mark Corps. How many Quantico people? Anybody? I know you all have heard of the Marines, right? One of the best uniforms, right? No disrespect to the others, but it is a nice uniform. So we're out at Quantico. Quantico is about to release this big solicitation, right? Because they have this requirement for dogs. Some mission required all these dogs, right? And the dogs had to be trained. So they were trying to figure out, okay, we're going to release the solicitation. We got to get some people together to do the requirements, right? Then we're going to advertise it. Then we're going to go from there. Okay, so then we got to pull a team together to do the evaluation. Then we got to award it. Then we got to pray it doesn't get a protest. All of this. Wait a minute. This little lady, Linda, has this whole thing where she does all this stuff with dogs. Imagine that. Why don't we send her on a little assignment and let her do not only what she loved to do, it fill their need. Look how much money they save with running a full up competition for someone to work and train these dogs for a critical mission. So that was because they did talent management. They fully understood who in the organization had a passion, interest, and not only that, they had access to dogs and had that skill set to train them. Why is it a benefit? It's a benefit for you as an employee because you have clear paths. I'm going to read these for the people in the back. Also, you can provide connection to the work and the product. If you want to increase engagement, there is nothing less. And we talked about this next generation. They are all about feeling that I matter. And what I did, there would be no organization if it was not for me and my friends that came in last year, right? That last graduating class was epic. They're all about you connect me and then they want you to tell them not only did you do it, you were great. Every time you do it, you're great. I have one of these daughters, right? So yeah, it's like my boss said I was good. Well, I think that's nice. I mean, he just said I was good. What do you want him to say? Right? Oh, I'm great. I'm doing this. So it's really about getting those connections. And then it's all about a skill that moves with you. So my skill portfolio, yes, I did acquisition. Yes, I did contracting. Yes, I did supply chain management. Yes, I was a logistician. All of that is in that system. So when you have that emergency threat, you go into that system and I can see who I can virtually pull together as a team to support emergent work before I have one conversation. That's how good I know my people in my organization holistically and where their interest lies. The supervisor, it's about direct training plans. It's about identifying all the gaps across the organization and then retaining, learning, and developing people. Very critical. If we want to move an organization, we have to be willing to inspire the people to do the right things at the right time and know they're on target. Organizationally, it's about experts in the organization. Every company, I don't care how wealthy they are definitely watching that profit. They're watching that bottom line. They don't want to spend any more than they need to spend. So how are we using analytics to drive those decisions and look at more so the quality of our workforce and not the quantity? That's like a little Oprah tweet kind of moment. It's all about the quality of your workforce, not the quantity of your workforce. So that means I have to get to a lower level to get to the quality of my workforce. So I'll give you an example. This was a module, and this just kind of gets into the tasks left when you get into the system. It gives you an overview of all the data. It talks a little bit about how you assess yourself. And I'll be honest with you, when people say assessment, everybody cringes. What we found was people were deemed more valuable, one, than they thought they were. So I thought I was performing at a 3, but Maria actually told me I'm really a 4. I'm crushing it. It was ironic that people welcome the feedback more frequently, because remember, this isn't about performance. We can sit down and do this anytime you work a project and you feel like you learned some more skills and you want to do something different, or you want to talk about your training, we can go through this process. And it shows the organization directly in the chain graphically, not only you. Who doesn't use data today? We all do. But do you use it for your own career? Right? Are we looking at our own career in the form of data and growth and analytics and where we want to be? And how do we capture that? The metrics were more powerful for the average employee than it was for the leaders. As a supervisor, it gives you some insight in. I can look at this succession, and I'll say this for the individuals in the back. 100%, this person can, Sleepy Willow, I made these up, can take my job. 100%. Got every skill right on target, right where he or she needs to be, 100% ready to move into my position. We're always looking for the next wave of leaders and the successors. And then you can look to see, oh, this person's 80%. Okay, well, maybe I need to do some rotating of assignments here. Maybe that next plum project, I'm going to go ahead and give it to Houdini because they've demonstrated that. I can even see where my employees have sent me things they want me to look at in a tool, not my email. My goodness, because it's 50,000 of them on any given day. But I can see where I can pull up a report and see how my people are doing. This to me is really leadership, right? A leader does, if you ask me what's my definition of leadership, a leader is an individual that can help you discover your talents if you don't know what it is. If you do, help you still grow your talent, but in any case, help you unleash your talent for not only your individual gains, but for the organizational gains. That to me is leadership. Give you an idea of what an employee would see. All kinds of reports. Harry Houdini here is able to run about his individual development plan. He's able to look at his background and keep that information up to date. He's able to look at assessment. How did I do last time? Now that I worked another assignment, I can kind of capture that skill set. And these are behavioral skills, right? These are knowledge, skills, and abilities that are behavioral. And then he gets to see all the metrics that he thinks maybe other people use in making decisions about his career, that he now can lead the conversation when it comes to making decisions about your career. And I'll tell you, as a supervisor, that was the most refreshing thing, because if I have 25 people, I'm really trying to really give everybody the best I can, but sometimes I don't have that framework, right? But this gives me a framework. When you come in and say, hey, look at this, or I print out the report that you and I both see, it alleviates a lot of anxiety or concern and distrust in that, we have something that we can frame our conversation. So think about your assessment, starting here, completing your background, selecting some technical areas, submitting what you think your assessment should be based on those technical areas that tie into your work, set your goals, whatever your goals are, and then begin to assess yourself. Meet and work with your supervisor and your mentors. I'm a big fan of mentorship. I wouldn't be in front of you without the many that have helped me along the way, and complete your goals. So everyone's going to go, I don't have time for that. How many people are already saying, oh, no, this will take too long? I'll be honest with you. It took less than 30 minutes or so, 40 minutes for people to do it, just to set it up. Because after that, it's just sustainment and maintenance, right? But this is what motivated people. We introduced gamification. Who goes to Starbucks? Are you all counting those stars and points? Can I redeem my rewards, please, and get my little impossible breakfast sandwich for free? We introduced gamification. So as you moved across thinking it was all about you, we were recognizing and rewarding you with stars and trophies, just like the young people want, right? Stars and trophies and medals. But guess what? Then when I had to figure out who could teach strategic planning, I could go right into the system and see across the whole organization who had mastered it. Now, am I contracting that out, or am I calling this person over for a brown bag? Right? Now, look how much money I'm saving. I'm leveraging my own organic talent to develop and pour into the legacy of the organization, saving the company millions of dollars in the form of training. So how do we do it at TTSC? It's about an organizational analysis. We definitely start with the end in mind, and we understand our organizations, but we build customized roadmaps. So if you're an engineer, electrical engineer, we will identify all the opportunities in your organization for you to master across your career trajectory. That demystifies success in an organization. Then we look at the assessments, the gaps within an organization, and whether or not you should target. I'm a big fan, since I've moved about in my career, of redevelop, redeploy, right? Retrain, redevelop, redeploy. There are so many people that have followed that model that are like, gosh, I wish I'd known we were doing this all along. I love this part. But instead, since I didn't know that, I'm going to do what? Leave. I didn't know the company offered that. So having that kind of transparency will enable you to retain. We do a lot of analytics, a lot of data science, a lot of engineering as it relates to giving organizations information and employees and managers about how to leverage their data. And all those archaic policies and guidance that no one really knows exist. Like how many people like those standard work packages? We're trying to figure out who uses those anymore, right? People are going to YouTube looking for resources. We help organizations with that. And then it's all about having the right IT harmony, and that's not overwhelming, and it's not overly expensive, but it definitely interfaces and leverages the goodness that you have, and or we bolt on and customize what you don't. But it's giving individuals and organization successful tips and tricks to move about in their career. So I'm going to walk you through this very quickly, and then I'm going to turn it over to my awesome partner. I talked about an assessment, a need of an organization. When I mentioned earlier, and for those, we'll make this available afterwards. When I said we build roadmaps, this is that trajectory of I can go into this job, or this job, or this job, or this job. Well, wait a minute, maybe that job. And these are all the things I need to know. And these are all the classes I need to take to be successful in that position. So when I go to my mentor, or when I look for that rotational assignment, I have that. I have a couple of them, depending upon where I want to go in my career. And remember, I talked about all the skills you should know. We identify all the skills across various levels of proficiency. Everybody doesn't need to be an expert. Maybe I only need to be intermediate in earned value management. I don't really do it that much, but I need to master pivot tables because I do a lot of that. And then we tell you all the courses that you need to take to be successful. So when you build your individual development plan, you build your individual development plan. And if life means that I'm not ready to do something, then I don't do it at this juncture, but I know what I need to do. We introduced mobile technology, and we built this guidebook that enabled individuals to do all of what I just mentioned. And so when I talked about a plan for your career, that's a natural byproduct of the process of talent management. Everyone should, I love the people that I meet when they say, I really don't have a plan. And I look at an organization that's 50,000 people. How are you navigating without a plan? Like we wouldn't go on a road trip 50,000 miles without some sort of navigation. And that's something that we as employees have to master. There will be no advocate greater than you for your career, for the tools you need. And so when I say build that individual plan and develop your people, it's all about a skilled workforce. But I would submit to you, what comes with competence is confidence. So it's nothing like knowing what I need to know when I need to know it, and also knowing what I don't know, but I know how I can get it and how I can plan for it and how I can position myself for it. And that is the assessment process. And along this process, I pick the right mentors based on my gaps, right? I pick the right people that help enable my career success along the way. Do you all have any questions about anything I shared before I turn it over? I know that was a lot to Mike. Yes, ma'am. Someone that has so back in the day when the resume with their hobbies, we've gone away from that. How do you have hobbies and passions that people have, right? Not necessarily align with what they're doing. Okay, so that was a good question just for those virtually. The question was years ago in resumes, we used to like have hobbies listed. And today, how are we capturing the passion and the interest when we don't have that category or that identifier? What we capture, we call it special interest, or we even say, what is your passion, right? And get that question asked because I'm curious to what you're passionate about. You will perform with what you really love doing. And if I have an opportunity as a talent manager to align you to a need in the organization that taps into your passion, I would as a good leader because you'll work like forever, right? And you'll thrive and you'll be happy and I'll keep you. I would still list my areas of interest, even in my resume, passionate, leading with, passionate areas of interest or things that I love to do, things that make me excited. I would do that. Mm-hmm. And then when I meet with supervisors and leaders, I would share that. Oh, sorry. Yes, ma'am. We do. We do. We work with larger companies. We work with state companies. We're small business, so we're very passionate about helping small businesses get this right out the gate so they can grow. I think the heart of America rests on the shoulders of those small businesses that are out there grinding to greatness every day. So we know a large company can oftentimes afford big companies to do this. And our approach is just as strategic and intentional. And we have tons of testimonials and examples, but we do work with large businesses as well, even as close as Tyson's Corner. We do. Yeah. Any other questions? Thank you. I'll come back up at the end. This is the secret sauce to success, right? Over to Michael.
Well, good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here. I am no Adrienne Somerville, just so you know. But I want to talk a little bit about developing your employees. Who can tell me why you would want to develop your employee? Anybody? Retention, absolutely. What else? Make your job easier, absolutely. As a manager, as a supervisor, when you have employees up under you, you want to delegate, right? You want to delegate some of that responsibility. What else? Create efficiencies, absolutely. Making your organization more efficient, yes. Absolutely. Having happy people. Who would want to be in an organization and you're not being developed? You're not growing. You're stagnant. You're complacent, not going anywhere. Anybody online? Anybody online have anything to say? Yeah. Mhm. Your employee tree, right. Keep them below me. Right. Anybody else? Well, I have to say, I'm an example of a developed employee. When I started working for the Navy in 1990, as a young person, I started off throwing acid stripper on a plane. So there I was, young person, throwing acid on a plane, scrubbing it off, had a degree in IT, but it was a way to get my foot in the government. And I said to myself, do I want to be throwing acid stripper on the plane all day? And have any of you all worked with acid stripper before? I mean, go to Home Depot. If you ever want to strip some paint, you can buy some acid stripper. And let me tell you, it burns. If you get some on your skin, it burns. Try sitting in it, or try step. It's very slippery as well. But I came from throwing the acid on the plane to working in EEO, wanting to work with people, working in IT, getting my doctoral degree from Pepperdine University, all from being developed. So what does it say about being developed? First, it says, for those of you who can't see in the back, number one, encourage your employees to create an individual development plan. We all know individual development plans are plans tailored just for you so you can grow. Number two, conduct a skill gap analysis. So at TTSC, we conduct skill gap analysis. We'll go into your organization and we'll document all, but first we'll create a career guidebook because we want to know everything that you need to know for your position. So we will say at the awareness level, at the beginner's level, at the intermediate level, at the expert level, you need to know these skills, right? And you need to demonstrate these behaviors. And you need to do it at this proficiency level. So that way there's no confusion that it demystifies everything. If you as an employee, if you want to move to the next level, you just go to the career guidebook and say, okay, these are the skill sets that I need to do to perform optimally in this position. These are the skill sets that I need to have to move up further in my company. And then we go a step further. We take a skills assessment. We let you assess yourself. So if you need to be a 10 in communication, or you might think you're a 10 when you assess yourself, but when you meet with your supervisor, she might think you're a 5. And she'll tell you why. It's the impetus of a conversation, right? So we do skills assessments. And then we create like a little graph. And then we create solutions so you can close those skill gaps. And then finally, we have invest in a learning management system. Have you ever heard of a university like Hamburger University from McDonald's? You know, having a university or some sort of learning management system so you can close those skill gaps. You might close the skill gaps for on-the-job training. You might close your skill gaps from going into your online learning management system so you can gain those skills so you can perform better. And when you perform better, your organization will perform better as a whole. You do better performance. Develop your employees. Dr. Jim Goodnight from the SAS Corporation from North Carolina, don't know if you heard him. He says 99% of my assets walk out of that gate every night. I need to do what's important for them to come back. And developing your employees is something that you should do. Okay. Yes. Oh, great question. So say, for example, Maria, she may be a sales representative at a store, right? So one of her skill sets might be communication. Another one of her skill sets might be counting money. Another one of her skill sets might be suggestive selling. Would you like to add some cheese to that burger, right? And so when you assess yourself on your skill sets, and then your supervisor assesses you, that gap analysis creates a roadmap for you. Because you'll say, okay, I'm a 10 in suggestive selling. Your boss will say, well, you're an 8 because you didn't ask that last person if they wanted some cheese. And then you'll say, oh, I'm a 10 communication. Well, not really, because when I asked you to give that speech last week, you were umming and ahhing, stuttering, and you weren't talking to what was up on the slides, right? So then our tool set will spit that gap analysis out and give it to you. It's an impetus of a conversation between you and your supervisor, and you can use that as an individual development plan to close those skill gaps. Okay? So here's some strategies to develop employees. Train for success from the start. Right at the beginning, start training them for success. Set a good example. You know, when you're a supervisor and you want to train your employees, you tell them, hey, this is what success looks like. And you define success for your organization. And so you want to walk the walk and talk the talk and encourage your employees to do that as well. Create the individual development plan, set performance metrics, see if they can reach those performance metrics, simulate real life situations. You know, when you drive a car, first you go and you take the driver's test, right? You take a written test. It's not the same when you get behind the wheel, right? So you want to give them some real life situations. Give regular feedback. Feedback is very important. Giving feedback to your employees, whether it's in the form of a weekly meeting or it's in the form of a 360, feedback is very important because how do I know if I'm improving or not? If you don't give any feedback, your employees doesn't know where they're failing and where they need to grow. So feedback is very important. Delegate responsibilities. When you want your employee to grow, you give them things that you would probably do for yourself, but they may not have that skill set. They may not have that experience. So you want to delegate some of those responsibilities so they can grow. Engage in cross-training. That's a wonderful way for your employee to learn different parts of the organization. I know when I worked for the Navy, and they had the managers over F-18s, which is one sort of airplane, and then they have another manager over parts, and another manager over the E2s, and another manager over the C2s. All different departments with different problems. So when you cross-train, you give them that expanded knowledge, and that'll help them move up the ladder. Dedicate resources. Give them some money. Give them some money to go to school. Give them some money to do training. Provide those resources for them. Nurture professional networks. Introduce them to people and eliminate barriers. So what about coaching? Does anybody know why we coach? Good. For knowledge? Share knowledge. What else? Improve performance. What'd you say, Miss Adrienne? Empower. Yes. Well, the reason why we coach is we coach when you may have a colleague or you may have an employee. They may have what they call a delimiting behavior. They may have something that they're doing that's inhibiting their rising up the ladder. So what we do is we coach them. How do we coach them? Well, here's 5 tips for coaching. First, define your role as a coach. You create a safe environment. You know, some people may think that they're the best thing since sliced bread, but you need to let them know this is a safe environment. I'm going to coach you. I'm going to coach you so you might be the best thing since sliced bread, but right now you are not the answer to the question. And then number 2, listen to what is said. Be curious, seek to understand first. Tell me a little bit more. Let me know, why are you doing this? Why are you cutting people off in meetings? Why are you throwing out those micro inequities or microaggressions? What are you doing there? And then, you know, that's just my culture. That's the way we talk. Okay, well, let me just give you, let me just ask you some questions and see if we can improve your methodology there. Observe what is heard and seen. You know, focus on the facts. Share what you observe, providing a judgment-less summary, right? When we coach our people, we don't want to be judgmental. Just want to point out the facts. This is what I heard you say. You want to have good listening skills. Okay, so this is what it sounds like you're saying. We want to get some clarification there. Validate what is felt. You know, share and acknowledge the emotion. I can see why you might say that. Yeah, show some empathy. Just because you're showing empathy means you understand. It doesn't mean you agree. It means, okay, I understand where you're coming from. And empower what is possible. Forward the thinking, explore options, showing optimism. So what's next? What could improve on this? When you coach, one of the most powerful things you can do is ask questions. And that's what a good coach does. A good coach asks powerful questions. Okay, so the difference between coaching and managing. Does anybody know what the difference between coaching and managing is? So when you coach, you are asking powerful questions, okay? When you coach, you're asking the person that has the delimiting behavior questions to help them improve. But when you manage, you're giving direction. Do that. And you're taking responsibility. So if you're delegating things, you want them to learn, right? And you're going to ask them questions. That's why you delegate, because you want to develop your person, right? But when you manage, you're giving them instruction and you're taking ownership. But when you coach, you're letting that employee, you're letting that person that you're coaching, they are taking ownership of the problem, of the situation. So there are 3 excellent coaching skills. Asking powerful questions. using active listening techniques. People know when you're listening to them because when you're talking to them and they're describing their situation and you're saying something that doesn't have anything to do with the conversation, they know you're not listening. So you have to use active listening techniques. Okay, so this is what I heard you say. And you paraphrase. This is what I'm hearing. Okay, this is what this looks like, correct? That way listening is a powerful tool, especially as a project manager. You're asking for status on project. You want to know where it is, why it's like that, why is everything crashing? You have to, and you're going to have to report that up. So you have to know how to listen. And keep in mind effective communication principles. Have any of you ever heard of a growth mindset? When you talk to your employees, or you talk to someone that you're coaching, you want to talk to them with a growth mindset, meaning I've seen you do good work before. I know you can do better. Let's do this. Because that creates trust. It creates referential power. It creates a nice relationship. Asking powerful questions. Why? How? What? Where? Which? When? Who? Close into the yes or no. The ones at the bottom are lower in power, and the ones at the top are more powerful questions, right? Yes.
How do you have to lie without going off defensive to the fact? I think a lot of why people are trying to get out.
Well, it depends on how you say it. It depends on the tone you use. You know what I mean? So if I say, why did you come in 10 minutes late? You know what I mean? Or you can say, hey, why'd you come in 10 minutes late? Can you see the difference? Just by changing up the tone, right? But why is important. The why is always important, especially when you're setting expectations. If somebody knows why they're doing something, if they come to a fork in the road, they'll know which way to go, right? How are we doing time? 5, 7 minutes. Okay, great. Coaching, who, when, where? When do we coach? Why do we coach? See, it's important that you assess the situation, right? Because sometimes you may have to coach and sometimes you may have to manage. A lot of times when you want to work with someone and you want to talk to them with a growth mindset, oh, you're so good, you can do just this little tweak and you're going to be like the best one ever, right? And then sometimes you have to manage. Some people don't accept coaching very well. So sometimes you have to say, do it like I said, please. Right? So you have to assess the situation. Yes. Right. You coach. Yeah, you have to put it in perspective, but you have to assess the situation, right? Because everyone is different. Everyone receives different. And like I said, some people think they're the best slice of bread, right? They're the best thing since a slice of bread. And then other people will say, or they'll think less of themselves. When you can see, a good leader can see the potential in someone. They can recognize that talent and they can pull it out of them, right? And then they can delegate, they can coach. And a good follower can receive that, right? A good leader too is a good follower. Porque yo hablo español. ¿Tú hablas español? ¿Cuántas personas aquí hablan español? Okay. So I just asked how many people here speak Spanish. So if I have a project and I need someone to speak in Spanish, I'm going to call Maria, right? But and you'd be a great leader. But what if I ask you to code something in C++? You'd be like, right? So in some situations, you'll be a good leader, and some situations you're just going to have to follow. Okay, so TTSC, we impact all levels of the organization. The individual levels, once we've done your assessment, mission-directed training, career management tool, IDP development, insight into management options of skill set, task assignments, the individual, we do it one person at a time. So after we've given you your assessment and we've assessed the organization, how many federal employees do we have here? Okay, have you ever heard of the Federal Employment Viewpoint Survey? Okay, it's a climate survey, right? Wonderful survey. It's an excellent survey. Our assessment tool is modeled somewhat after the Federal Employment Viewpoint Survey. So we'll go into the organization, we'll find out where there are deficiencies, and then we go in and tweak and put policies in and procedures in so the organization can run more optimally and more efficient. The same thing we do for the individual. We do the individual skill assessment, right? How are we going to close this skill gap? Are we going to do it on-the-job training? Are we going to take a class? What are we going to do to close this skill gap so that you can perform more optimally? We do that one person at a time. Then for management, it gives automated insight into employees. We have that analytic ability, that IT ability to set the health of the organization. If we have an emergent requirement, we can look into our tool set and see, oh, we've got that assignment over there in Spain or Mexico. We're going to call Maria, right? And we're going to call Miguel, and we're going to put them together, and we're going to send them over there, and we can assess the health of the organization. We can create virtual teams just by looking in the tool set. Oh, and by the way, when somebody leaves the organization, we can see which skill sets left the organization, right? Because a lot of times people leave, we don't know what they did, we didn't know the skill sets they had. But with this tool, and with what we offer, you can see what skill sets are leaving the organization. And then as far as the organization, predictive scenario-based models, we can do workforce planning. We already talked about the health of the organization, the ability to interpret talent trends. So our proposition of value, we have technology forward process. We're always looking at new technology. We're very innovative because we want the organization to thrive. So when we go in and assess your organization, we change it into a thriving organization. We want to invigorate your employees. We want to motivate your employees. We want to encourage your employees. We want your organization to perform best as possible. And we have the tools to do it. We work with PhDs. We work with technology companies. We partner with a number of different companies to find out what is the best thing trending right now. What is the latest? What is best practices, industry's best practices we can put in place here to make your organization thrive, to make your people thrive? Yes. We have a tool, and then we customize it, but we customize it based on what your organizational needs are, based on the assessment. Yes. Absolutely. When we did it for 35,000 people in the Navy, including Japan and Hawaii, well, let me tell you, we have, of course, in the Navy, we have people working the planes, we have people working the ships, we have people working on parts, and then we have, the people working in offices. So the people working in the planes were like, I don't have a computer. How am I going to go to this tool set? And how am I going to look at this career guidebook? And then they were like, well, can't you make a mobile app? And we were like, ding, 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 ding. And so Adrienne is like, Michael, you're over that. So, we worked with Google, we worked with Apple, we created a mobile app, and then they were able to download it to their cell phones, take assessments, and do everything right there from, everything they needed. A welder, they were able to see their skill sets necessary to perform optimally in their positions at the awareness level, intermediate, and expert levels. Okay. So these are human capital, competent or complacent, right? What skill gaps will future skill shifts create within your workforce? Can you answer these questions? Are your workforce members equipped with the right skills and mastery to optimally perform? Those are questions you should be asking. Can employees relate their daily work to organization mission or success? Some people don't even know where they sit in the organization. Some people might be cutting widgets, cutting out parts, and they're just doing their jobs, right? Are your people mapped to the products that they deliver, right? We do career mapping. How do you measure if your employees are in the right role with the right skill set? Because, here at TTSC, we believe that people will go further when they work with their strengths. Has anybody read the Strength Finder book or taken the Strength Finders assessment? And we believe you go further if you work in your strength. You might have you might be a welder working the floor, but you'd like to move over to the accounting department. You may have an accounting degree, you may have the accounting skill sets, you may even demonstrate some accounting behaviors. So you can look in our career guidebook and go to that budget analyst. Oh, I can do this. Let me network a little bit with the people over there, find out how I can get hired. And you move over there and you're performing, working very good in the position that you really love to do, right? Developing that natural strength. How do you measure if employees are in the right role with the right skill set? How do you guys do that? Well, we have the tools to do that. What is the demand signal for talent and training by departments, divisions, and branches? Is your organization 100% aligned for growth, success, and resiliency? These are questions that you have to ask. How many employees are overworked, disengaged, or underutilized? I mean, I've assessed organizations many times, and there's a lot of disengagement, lots. What can we do to turn that around? Are you prepared to have the right people in the right place with the right skills at the right time to meet tomorrow's business needs? I think Adrienne referenced when we were in talks with GM, they need new engineers. They need, because, pretty soon they're going to be passing laws where we can't have any gas vehicles, right? So we're going to be needing some engineers with these different skill sets. And these are questions that you will have to ask yourself and your organization. So with that being said, I'd like to call my CEO, Adrienne Somerville, up here. You're welcome.
Thank you. Do you all have any other questions or comments or thoughts about anything shared? Are you fired up not only about your career, about enabling the success of your manager and being that succession planner, and then helping your organization grow, right? Is really what it's all about, but it's organizational growth starting with you. Yes, ma'am. From a coaching or mentoring? As an outside, get an outside, not germane to your.
Right. So coaching is someone that you go to, like I coach a lot of people, right? So from an engineer, so if you wanted some coaching, we would coach you. And first of all, we'd set some goals, right? What are your goals? What are the things that and then we would have to assess you as a worker. What are the limiting behaviors that you have that are preventing you from being or reaching your maximum potential, right? And only you can answer those questions. So we could talk with your supervisor. We can do some assessments. We can talk with you. And then we can say, okay, this is what you need to do to reach your maximum potential based on the assessment that we gave you, based on your 360 degree, and based on what your supervisor is saying. And then we go from there. We can ask you some questions. Okay, well, don't you think it would have been better if you did it like this? Or have you heard of it? Seek to understand first, then be understood. I don't know if you heard of inside out coaching, right? So what we're gonna ask you some powerful questions. Why did you give the brief that way? What did you do when you gave that brief? Why did you give them that information first? And then once you explain that to me, and then since I'm an expert in the field and I know the way it's supposed to be, I'm going to tell you, okay, this is what you should have done.
How many people have a mentor? Wow. Okay. At every level, even at my level now, I still have a mentor. It's a game changer. And I'll just tell you, I know we have some hard chargers in here tonight, but hard chargers, let me tell you about performance. One fun fact, because I know my time's running out here. But this is, if you remember nothing, remember this. You can perform. Performance has a diminishing effect. The ROI is going to go down. If you do it in 3 months once, you're going to always be doing it in 3 months. And if you do it in 3 months, over time, I think you can do it in 2 months. That's your performance capital that you're investing in being the dynamic people you are. If you are to move about, you need that performance capital. Don't lose sight of it. But once you decide you want to ascend, now you need relationship capital. That is the game changer. Don't lose sight of the relationship capital within your organization. Who are your movers, shakers, and doers? Who are the mentors? Who are the advocates in the room for you when the doors close? That's the relationship capital that, if you're an introvert like me, it's kind of hard to build sometimes. But there's a trick to that too. I wrote a whole chapter in my book about mentoring because it is the secret game changer to success. Oh, yes. So my grandmother told me, you just never go anywhere barefaced and empty-handed. So what I have done, as I have my book to give away along, you know, some person comes like me by myself and reading in a nice little bistro or a nice little, some of my favorite little restaurants like Panera and Starbucks and other places where I could just pick my feet up and read. I would like to bestow to someone that took the time out of your busy schedule to learn about talent management. My hope is that you have something that you can apply not only in your own career, but enable the success of your colleagues and management. So we have used Maria like over and over. Yes, I'll
344-131.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. One more.
Sure. So while I'm picking this, one thing about a mentor, when you have a mentor, you can tell a mentor the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? Because they have a bird's eye view of the organization. They can tell you, you know, they can give you some mentorship. But a sponsor, you don't want, they're in the room with all the big wigs. You can't tell them the ugly part, right? You can't tell them when you cut somebody out. No, because they're advocating for you, right? Okay, here we go. 344-144. Yeah, congratulations. Congratulations.
Ms. Somerville will be signing copies.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all tonight. If you all have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can certainly reach out to us at info@tts-c.com. And Adrienne Somerville and myself, we are on LinkedIn if you'd like to reach out.
And both our speakers have approved the video recording to be on our YouTube channel, as well as sharing the PDF sensitive copy of the slides. So we greatly appreciate that. We have 2 more raffle prizes. Daniel Pink, who is our speaker for our 2019 Education Day, wrote a book on the power of regret. For those who live their life with no regrets, he calls your bluff on that. 344-138. Okay, we have a winner. These were all shuffled and randomly given out, so I know it's a hodgepodge. And we also have a signed copy from Mr. Arthur Brooks, who wrote the book From Strength to Strength, which is on bestseller list right now. The book's more as you age and grow in life experience, how to maintain and sustain your happiness and success. If somebody wins who's on the left of 35, you'll better understand those around you. So 344-133. Okay, that may have been somebody left. 344-136. Hey, we have a winner, at least in the back of the room. So. We owe you guys over there. And now close. Thank you. And now closing remarks from our president.
Thanks, Matt. So our next meeting is Wednesday, April the 6th. Hope to see you all here. Bring a friend. Let's fill the big room, okay? Let's fill the big room. Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you all for being members. Please drive safe. Thank you so much.